Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show. I'm your host, Krazy Kajeevie, with no fears, limits or substitutes, the bad boy of James Bond. Okay guys, so I'm doing a very special Dissecting the Directing edition today. This is going to be Tracy's death from 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service, starring George Lazenby as James Bond and Dame Diana Rigg as Tracy DiVincenzo. This is kind of a tribute to the late great Diana Rigg, who died in September last year. Okay, I want to preempt this scene, guys, by saying this, and this is really, really important to me. I know a lot of James Bond fans, not only today that watch this, but for years to come, for how long this is on YouTube. Please know one thing about this. This is my all-time favourite James Bond scene. Bar none. This is it. This is my favourite. And when I turn the lights off and the screen up and my phone off and I sit here and I watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I've been watching it since I was about 13. I'm turning 46 next week. It's my birthday next week and I'm turning 46. So I've been watching it for 33 years, okay? And every time, I'll admit it, I cry at the end of this. And I hate, hear me carefully here, at the end of it, I hate George Lazenby so much. And you know why I hate him? Because he's so brilliant in this, and I love him in this film, and I love him in this scene, and I want to strangle him in the nicest possible way, because it's an abomination that he did not return, because he's so good, and the man did himself such an injustice by not coming back, because this incredible scene that we're about to see, and his incredible performance here, and I'm going to go into massive detail on it, he should have come back and done Diamonds Are Forever and paid tribute to what happened here. However, even though I love this and it's my all-time favourite James Bond scene, and it is without doubt, look, the M scene, which I will do one day, I think the M scene in Spectre, her death, was a massive letdown. I don't think it's a good scene. I've never found it emotional. I actually laughed when I saw in Skyfall, when I saw M's death in Skyfall. I think I said Spectre before. It was not performed well. The shot composition on that wasn't done well, where this is miles ahead. And even the whole Vesper stuff, yeah, kind of sad and tragic, but this, we all know, the real Bond fans, this is the love of Bond's life, both in the novels, really, and film. But what I want to warn you about is, as great as this is, and as much as I love it, dissecting it today, as in just watching it over and over, or after work today, I have seen pieces over the years, but just a few little things I probably would change. But what I want to do is, I'm going to play this in its entirety. I'm not going to talk through the first run of it. Let's watch it together. Let's enjoy it together. It's for educational purposes, not to make money out of or anything. That's why I'm showing this scene in its entirety. And because as a fan, I love it. And I make no income of this. I just do it out of love and to share with you guys, the James Bond fans out there. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, guys, please subscribe. Please drop a like. And more than anything, share the channel with your friends if you like it and you think they will too. All right, let's do this. So we're just going to play it first, and then I'm going to go into dissecting it.
You know, I haven't given you a wedding present yet.
I have an idea about that. 3 girls, 3 boys. Pleased?
Not bad for a start. But darling, now we have all the time in the world. He's got a point, we do look like an ad for a flower shop. That reminds me, I didn't even send you flowers.
Anyway, you have given me a wedding present. The best I could have. The future.
Mrs. Bond, shut up. And don't eat it all at once.
He loves me.
Instinctively.
Infuriatingly.
Intensely. Indubitably.
First a boy and then a girl.
It's Blofeld. Blofeld.
It's all right. It's quite all right, really. She's having a rest. We'll be going on soon. There's no hurry, you see. We have all the time in the world.
Okay guys, well, this is just rewinding. I'm going to get it back to where I need it to be. So, what a great scene, what an absolutely amazing scene. What we're going to do, guys, we're going to take it just from a high... We're going to take it from just inside the car. Okay, so we're going to get into the dissecting now. Now, I have decided to just dissect this scene, not this scene here with Moneypenny M, the wedding, etc. I'm going to dissect it from when Bond and Tracy are in the car. I want the focus of this to be on them and how director Peter Hunt directed it, how he then edited the film with John Glenn, or John Glenn edited, but obviously the director's got huge input in that. And overall, I think Peter Hunt did a fantastic job. I'm going to talk more about Peter Hunt at the end of this. So this is a real in-depth look at this, even though it's quite a short scene. I've got so much to share with you about it. So stick with me. Let's do this.
007 never had any respect for government property.
So we're in the car, and this is basically, as best you can call a reverse angle two-shot. We've got Bond, we've got Tracy, we're in the car. And what I like about this in a way is it's so kind of flat and it's a horizon. It's their future and they're driving into their future, you know, and it's kind of spot the obvious on that one, isn't it? But they're just driving into the future.
You know I haven't given you a wedding present yet?
I have an idea about that. 3 girls, 3 boys.
Now, if you have a look very closely, there's clearly what's happened in post-production. There's basically sound recording on a film set. What can happen is the sound recordist, if he wants a cleaner take for a sound, he can just do what's called a wild take. So he can get the director, he can get the actor, for example, later on, he can get George Lazenby just outside of the car and say, George, mic's close to you, just say these lines, and say them in a few different ways. That way you've got that dialogue, especially when the actor turns his face and you don't see his mouth, then the sound editors and the editor, they can edit a piece of dialogue in if it's needed. And this has clearly been done here. You can see on the next line coming up, just as Bond's head turns back towards us away from Tracy, you can see George Lazenby's mouth is not moving at all. So have a look here. So they've obviously added some stuff in post-production, some ad-libbing dialogue.
Pleased?
Not bad for a start.
This part here you'll see when he faces her, he's talking here, when he faces Tracy, as he turns back you can see Lazenby's not even talking.
Darling, now we have...
This bit there. So now we have all the time in the world. I'm going to play it so you can see it in full. And because it's such an important line, because of Louis Armstrong's great song and the fact that, you know, these are famous lines from the novel as well as the film, they've obviously added this in post. Have a look.
All the time in the world.
You see the side of his mouth isn't moving at all.
Not bad for a start. But darling, now we have all the time in the world.
Let's have a little look at that again. He talks, he says something there, but not fully those words.
But darling, now we have all the time in the world.
Interesting. Now, I love the way Diana Rigg, if you have a look, great actors like Timothy Dalton, Dame Diana Rigg, even Honor Blackman, I thought she was a wonderful actress. Really well-trained actors. You can see them listening to the dialogue coming from the actor they're working alongside. They're actually listening to the dialogue. And they react in a way as though they've never heard that dialogue before. And you can see on this how genuine, and not only, and I have to say, Diana Rigg is my all-time favourite James Bond girl as Tracy. She's not the hottest to me. I think that's Domino. She's just, whoo, probably Domino. But Diana Rigg's my favourite because I think she's the best actress. She played the best character in Tracy. There's so many layers, and the casting of her ultimately by director Peter Hunt was spot on. And have a look here just how gorgeous she is. And I don't mean gorgeous as in looks. I mean gorgeous as in the personality, the love and care of Tracy has come out here towards Bond. Just in the little things she does when she's not even talking dialogue.
You boys. Pleased?
Not bad for a start. But darling,
This
now
bit
we
here.
have all the time in the world.
That is phenomenal acting. It's probably not as easy as it looks, but she makes it look easy because she believes how she's reacting to him. Now, this is all from the novel. The car's taking past. This is good here. We see it in the rearview mirror here. So that's obviously from Bond's perspective. I love still how director Peter Hunt, he's showing this, you know, this world out there, this horizon out there. And that's very important for a piece of dialogue that's coming up. And Diana Rigg is just so natural there. So we're on a more raised angle here. Peter Hunt's keeping the camera moving. He's keeping the camera moving through this section because he's taking us to a point. But then you'll notice he specifically stops the movement at very strategic points, which I'm going to point out.
Boy, we do look like an ad for a flower shop. That reminds me, I didn't even send you flowers.
So nice, beautiful wide-angle shot here. He's got all this, you know, kind of just looking right at you. And again, I think this represents almost like, even though it's like the world is not enough is the catchphrase, the world's also their oyster in a way.
Anyway, you have given me a wedding present. The best I could have. The future.
Now, this line of dialogue is one of the most important in the entire film. And it is such a heartbreaking piece of dialogue. Anyway, you have given me a wedding present. You've given me a future. And the reason that line of dialogue is so heartbreaking is because if you look at her face, it's like she's dealing with the sadness in her life, the loss of her mother, how suicidal she was at the start of the film where she's suicidal and trying to drown herself in the ocean and Bond saves her. And there's this sadness still there, you can see it. But in here, in her mind and her heart, she's thinking, you've given me the ultimate gift. You've loved me for me, being me, and you've given me a future. And the reason it's so devastating is because 20 seconds later, she's dead and she has no future. And that's why it's just, it's great that on this shot here, it's great that Peter Hunt just kind of left that camera still there.
This is Bob.
I just want to play back a little bit here.
Anyway, you have given me.
And one thing I will say, guys, is I love the fact there's no music score right here. There's no score at this moment. It's just them. And I think that's so important. And you hear those kind of willowy, hollowy sounds of the wind blowing. And I think it's so great.
Getting present.
One thing I probably would have done, and again, it's not that what they've done here is wrong or anything. It's everything's effective, and Peter Hunt's made these decisions for a reason. But now, more than likely during production, they would have played this out in a master. So basically, a master shot is just where you play out the scene. So from Lazenby getting out of the car, or Bond getting out of the car, coming around, the whole lot, and Blofeld's car coming up, they most likely would have filmed that in a master to get all of that, the reaction, and then Bond going back around there in the car, Tracy dying. More than likely, they would have filmed all that as well from this master shot. What I probably would have done, I'd like to see, is as Bond's walking around here, they do cut to her. I probably would have preferred it if they just moved the camera, kept Bond going, and kept this frame uncut. So if they kept it all in a master you can still move the camera into a close-up. You can pull around to the side. You can have a medium close-up. You can do whatever. And the master at doing that, and this is why I want him to direct a James Bond film, is Steven Spielberg. To me, he's the best director living today as far as his shot composition. He can take you on a close-up without even a cut. And then he's got you seeing every member of a family walking through the doors, walking through a kitchen, and he doesn't cut once. He'll go from close-ups to medium shots to wide shots, etc. Especially if you look at his films like Jaws, in the scenes with Bodhi in the house, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You also look at the family scenes inside the kitchen. Spielberg's a master at doing that. So I would have liked if Peter Hunt had done that for here, but he does cut here. Let's have a look, guys. So he cuts here. Now, yes, this works, right? But what he could have done, again, I'm just going to go back. So I went a bit too far back.
Anyway, you have given me a wedding present.
So yeah, if he had just let Lazenby walk around, and then I would have pushed the camera in, just pushed it in to then this shot, but just it shows more time with them together as a couple, even though the focus then would switch to her. That's what I probably would have done. And one day as a fan, I would love to, with some actors, to get some actors and just reshoot this scene. There's a place in Victoria where I live, looking over the ocean, and it's very close to the town I grew up in. It's pretty much is the town I grew up in, and it looks over the ocean. And every time I drive past it, I think of it's my version. It's in a town called Frankston. And I look at that and I think that's my On Her Majesty's Secret Service point, and I would love to recreate this scene there and film it in my way. So it might be something that I have to do before the end of the year for the James Bond show.
I could have the future.
Now, of course, so you can see the cameras here, so they filmed this. Again, like I said before, they would have filmed all this in a master. And then Bond comes around here. If they just filmed it master, he comes around, pushing to her, she does the line. I would have him lean his head in as the camera then just comes back. He could have just leaned his head in, the camera comes back, and we get then kind of in a two-shot.
This is Bond. Shut up. And don't eat it all at once.
However, I think that shot from inside the car angle looking out, I think that's really good. So I think Peter Hunt made the right decision there.
He loves me.
Instinctively.
Infuriatingly.
Intensely.
In.
Because you really have to have that shot just we saw prior. You've got to see Bond's face, and Peter Hunt's been very clever there.
Infuriatingly.
And the reason being, because this is basically, well, this is the last moment they have together alive, where she's alive. So we've got to, he's definitely done the right thing by cutting in here. It's a beautiful shot, reverse angle over her, seeing his face there and how he's looking at her. So he's definitely made the right decision there.
Intensely. Indubitably.
First of all.
Now this is good. This all works nicely. You see that car sneaking up. Oh, it's villainous. It's crazy.
And then go.
Now I have to say, guys, the sound design here is fantastic. I love it. And you'll hear one just hear the ping. No, hang on. I've just gone past it. I love the ping.
First of all, and then go.
It's both of them.
Now, here, guys, so I'm going to go back slightly here. There's a couple of points, a couple of things. As Bond's coming around here, you'll see they then cut back from the front of the car and they're looking down the road showing Blofeld's car escaping.
It's both of them.
So right there, so they cut back here. I wouldn't have done that. I think it works, obviously. Look, the thing is, what I would like to do is to have been with Bond in Bond's view. The problem is, I think the reason they've gone for here is you've clearly got a bend, right? So if they are here on a reverse angle, what they could have done from there, if they had stayed in that shot, they come up on tracking, they come up around, and they come up from here and maybe show it from a higher angle. But if we were to go even on the left side of Lazenby, or the left-hand side, we could slightly still get this car, possibly. Or the right-hand side, we wouldn't. So I guess that's why Peter Hunt's cut from here, because from any other angle up here, they wouldn't have got the car. They could have got the car to here, but once it goes around there, from over there, they would have lost it. So I guess that's why he's had to go that way. Ultimately, it's, you know, it's probably, I guess, the best they could do, but it would have been nice if we stayed in James Bond's point of view, seeing that car. Now, here's one of my biggest gripes. My biggest gripe is yet to come. And as much as I love this scene and it's borderline flawless, it's still a bit of a gripe. Once he closes his door, he pulls his head back, we see Tracy's dead. I think it then cuts to the front of the window looking in as she's dead. For me, it cuts way too fast. I would have left it on this scene a bit longer to see Bond's face turn to the left to look at her.
Blofeld.
So now this is beautiful how he's cut to a close-up. He had to absolutely go to this close-up. He's made the right decision here because this is about Bond and him seeing that. So I think he's made between Peter Hunt and John Glenn, the editor, I think they've chosen the right decision here. Boom, cut. That's where I would have kept it a bit longer. I would have just had, as Lazenby's head goes backwards,
Blofeld.
so cut. So, just as his head's going, and we see the blood, and he's just cut too quickly. I personally think that cut is too quick. I would have just loved it more, let Lazenby's head go back a bit more, and show the audience, because that's the first time they see she's dead. We don't need to see this right now. Let's have one more little look at that, and you'll see what I mean.
It's Blofeld. Blofeld.
Now, so you can see what I mean there. Now, one thing I want to address, I was watching this scene on YouTube earlier today, and people saying, "Oh, Lazenby didn't act good enough there. He should have yelled out Blofeld more, and he should have been more concerned about his shot wife." Well, no, he didn't know his wife was shot, and he just assumed she's safe, and he needs to do that. And the reason Bond needs to assume she's safe is because once he gets in the car, when he discovers she's dead, that's the impact that he needs to get for us to then go, "Oh my goodness, she's dead." Especially for those James Bond, those people that went to the cinema and saw this and had never read the novel and didn't know the ending, and this was a surprise to them. They needed to see it once he was in the car, not before. So therefore, Bond can't overreact, right? Because he doesn't know she's dead. Now this is beautiful. I would have done all this, like I said, I just would have kept on Bond longer. This is gorgeous. The way this is done is beautiful. And I believe the cutting there, just as the policeman's head comes down, I believe the cutting's there because the director's letting this be the focus of the scene. And I have to say here, guys, again, I read a comment where someone said, "Oh, George Lazenby, Bond's not even crying, he's not even sad." Well, George Lazenby, on the first take, as a lot of you know, he cried, he had real tears. He read the book just before he read the end scene, just before they filmed this. He was crying. Peter Hunt made one of the worst decisions, as far as I'm concerned, in James Bond film history by saying, "Let's go again, don't cry, James Bond doesn't cry." And he made him do it again. And the take we're seeing here from memory of George Lazenby is the second take. This is the second take, and I believe there were only 2 takes done. It's not a scene you want to keep trying to redo, or you're going to kind of get dry in performance. So this was the second take, and I think I would absolutely love to see this done, a fan edit done of this, or basically on a special edition for them to show us the first take where James Bond is crying.
It's all right. It's quite all right, really. She's having a rest. We'll be going on soon. There's no hurry, you see. We have all the time.
And I love the way this is not cut. He's just letting Lazenby play it out.
Well.
And it's so beautiful how they've just brought the hand up. They don't need to show her anymore because just showing the ring on the ring finger here, this is, oh, it's beautiful. This is gorgeous. Absolutely incredible performance by this man. I think ending the scene on the bullet hole, great. That is great. They've had their moment. We've seen that. We don't need to see them now. This is the focus. Now, what I would not have done, right, and I think a lot of fans are going to agree with me, a lot of James Bond fans, one, I would not have put this up here, this writing. You do not need this right here. Leave that to the final credits. And of course, the biggest, probably the second biggest or first biggest mistake in all of James Bond film history is playing the James Bond theme over this. It was a terrible decision. They should have just pulled back, maybe slightly wider shot, pulled out from the car, and even though you'd see just Bond's head down like that, so the focus would be on them, you pull out and just let the music play. Louis Armstrong's "We Have All the Time in the World," either the full song or the instrumental, just the instrumental version should have played here. Doing this That is one of the worst decisions ever. And the reason I believe they did that is a lot of the times I think Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, they lost their nerve, especially with Diamonds Are Forever and how they produced that film. Sometimes these producers, and Barbara Broccoli still does it to this very day, they lose their nerve, they don't back the product, they don't back how good something is, and they make bad decisions. And I guess maybe I can do a video on bad decisions within the James Bond films, and of course I'll equal it up by doing a video of good decisions. But this was a terrible decision to play the James Bond theme. Overall, a beautiful scene, absolutely memorable. Guys, I'd love to know in the comment section below what you think of this Dissecting the Directing. Would you have done things differently? What did you like about this scene? What did you think of the dissecting of it? What did you agree with? What did you disagree with? Please leave comments below. And for everyone that watches this, please right now, if you're still with me, just pop a like on the video. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next time for Dissecting the Directing. I've got a whole bunch of really good, famous Bond scenes coming up. Till next time, say hi to your mum for me and keep on bonding.